There's a lot of finger pointing going on, but what's the real reason this is happening? How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a troubling stat I came across just browsing the internet this morning, and that is that 41% of Baltimore City public school students rank below a 1.0 as a grade point average. You're talking about the equivalent of a D. 41% of kids have below a D in Baltimore City. Now, I saw this from a fellow YouTuber, Sub-Zero, and I think he was doing a response to Kim Classic because she did the same topic. I've not watched their videos because I want a fresh perspective on it. I just saw that statistic, did a little bit of digging, and I found some really troubling information and some big time excuse making. But before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you'll see what's happening in a little bit more context. You'll hear from local people out there, city council, radio hosts. After we get done watching that, I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
This is a real crisis, a crisis that needs outside of the box thinking.
That's horrible. That is terrible.
WBAL radio talk show host Clarence Mitchell and Baltimore County Delegate Nino Mangione are reacting to a Project Baltimore investigation that found in the first 3 quarters of this school year, 41% of all Baltimore City high school students earned below a 1.0 grade point average. That's less than a D average.
What are you doing to prepare them for life? You're not.
We have an obligation to prepare and protect these students, to give them the best chance in the future. And when there's not even outrage amongst their own leaders, how can you expect there to ever be change?
In the second quarter of the 2019-2020 school year, before COVID hit, 24% of high school students earned below a 1 GPA. With that number now at 41%, city schools explained to Project Baltimore in a statement on Monday, the COVID-19 pandemic created significant disruptions to student learning. Starting this summer and beyond, City Schools is providing students with a variety of opportunities to acquire the unfinished learning they lost.
When someone commits an act, you have to hold them accountable.
Fox 45 News reached out to Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott for his reaction concerning nearly half the high school students in his city earning less than a D average this year. His press person responded, due to a tight schedule today, he will likely not have time.
When we invest in young people, we're investing in the future of our city.
But Project Baltimore was able to catch up with Baltimore City Council member John Bullock, a member of the Education Committee. Tuesday morning, he attended this event announcing a $1 million investment in city youth programs.
Do you find that type of student success or lack of success acceptable?
At the event, we asked Councilman Bullock about Project Baltimore's report.
You know, one of the realities we also deal with even in this past year with the pandemic is that a lot of young people struggle, a lot of families struggle. So on one hand, we're talking about, you know, this unique circumstance where a lot of young people have not really been able to be academically successful given some of the challenges they're facing. But from an overall perspective, to look at really the investments in not only recreation and education, but also family support. We definitely want to see our young people succeed to be able to get opportunities for further education and career development. Thank you.
I know it's a challenging issue, but the fact is we should look at these some of these leaders in the administration and think, let's evaluate and let's start firing people because this can't go on. This cannot go on. People need to lose their jobs for this.
Why don't you watch where the story goes from Project Baltimore, because I think we're only at the surface. 41% of Baltimore high school students under 1.0.
That's obscene.
City Councilman Robert Stokes, the chair of the Education Committee in Baltimore City, gave us this statement. These numbers are disturbing, but it is not a surprise that COVID worsened student performance. Haphazard approaches haven't solved anything. Our children live in poverty or are surrounded by it every day. Until we address poverty and the systems that allow it to thrive, our children will continue to fail.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. There's a whole lot to unpack. First of all, the excuses are ridiculous. Do you believe they hit you with the virus? Oh, because we got distance learning and they're virtual. Really? So you think that this whole problem with the failing, 41% of kids can't even get a D average, that just happened because of the virus all at once and it wasn't already a problem that existed beforehand? I did a video a while back about the boy out there in Baltimore that had a 1.3 GPA at Augusta Fells, which is a terrible school out of many terrible schools in Baltimore. He had a 0.13 GPA and he ranked 62 out of 120. Obviously, it's not just the fault of the pandemic. It's not just that. Maybe it had an impact, but not to the point where you have a crazy, systemic, obvious issue of failure in Baltimore City. And then they want to talk about, oh, well, we need more funding. Really? Do you know that Baltimore City is one of the top 5 most funded schools in the nation? In the entire nation. And what are some of the other ones? Detroit, New York, a lot of these failing places. When you're talking about public schools, probably Chicago, Atlanta, but I know Detroit's up there, Baltimore's up there. There's plenty of money. They're getting plenty of money. Is it making the difference, really? When I saw the Augusta Fells virtual graduation, a lot of these kids that they had on there could barely read. I could tell by how they were talking. But the administrators, the teachers, iced out, watches, cufflinks, looking real nice. It's like the equivalent of the preacher pulling up in the Benz, a big body Benz, brand new, or a restore old school Benz, right? Pulling up to a church in that. Meanwhile, the parishioners living in the projects with nothing. That's kind of the equivalent. But it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you paying the teachers well, you paying the administration well. Why does that not translate to the kids? What's going on? Why is there such an atmosphere of failure? Now, there's quite a few reasons you could talk about to explain it. But the obvious thing for me, maybe not to you guys, but if you watch me long enough, you know what it is. The first problem is the parents, period. That is the issue because, first of all, a lot of these kids go to school, no dad, barely got a mom. A lot of them come from their grandma's house, and they're not being raised properly. A lot of these black kids in these environments, they don't grow like flowers. They don't grow like crops. They don't grow like anything that is intended to have value when it gets to maturation. They kind of grow like weeds, unwanted and just unregulated, unchecked. Just let it happen. No nurturing, no watering, no nothing. You just kind of grow. You know, you're 4 or 5 years old. Next thing you know, you're 15 years old, and there was nothing put into you to build you up to that stage. The parents, they don't care. Like when I was a kid, I came from the hood too. I come from all black environments too. So I don't want to hear this black and we're oppressed, and I don't want to hear that. You know, my dad, when my parents were together, they were married before I was born. That's the first thing you can do, right? If you want to fix this problem, get married. They got divorced later, but it doesn't matter because we still had strong ties as a family. I had strong ties with my dad until he passed away. Still got strong ties with my mom. Got strong ties both sides of my family. We always had that. But when they were married, my mom was a stay-at-home mom in a trailer park in the hood, right? My dad worked at a hardware store. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And what did mom do? Flashcards, Reading Rainbow, Sesame Street. I was educated as a child before I went to K through 12. And before K through 12, I also went to a Christian preschool. I learned a lot there. I had a lot of different, I traveled a lot. I met a lot of different people in my family. I was exposed to a lot before I got to K through 12. A lot of these kids, they put them in the room, put them in front of the TV, and then by the time they get to be 5 years old, that's all they've been doing. So they go to school totally unprepared. I was prepared. School was fun to me and a lot of my friends I had. It was fun to get straight A's. It was fun to get the school supplies, the erasers and stuff like that. In the hood still now, this ain't no picket fence type story. Okay, I'm going back to the 700 square foot apartment with me and my mom. what it was eventually when they got divorced, all of that. And even before that, it was like trailer park. So this poverty excuse I'm not trying to hear, because, I mean, you got plenty of money. There's plenty of funding to the school. And if you're talking about the child's at-home life, how much money does it take to actually get married? You know, to have a child and plan it and think about it. Or if it's not planned, have a shotgun marriage. You know, like, how much money does it take to put a kid in front of Reading Rainbow or Sesame Street? Some of the old stuff, not the new stuff. But anyway, how much do flashcards cost? How much does it cost to teach a child that 1 + 1 is 2? How much does that cost? I'm not trying to hear the poverty excuse. I'm not trying to hear the virus excuse. I'm not trying to hear all these excuses. You can make a difference. You can make things better. But when you send these kids to school totally unprepared, the parents don't care, the kids don't care because the parents don't care, the teachers don't really care, that's a problem. And you can't fix that until you get down to the core, which is the parents. If that's not addressed, if that's not fixed, then you're not going to be able to do nothing. Like I've said before in many videos, if I could be a king, if I could rule by fiat, I would say no more welfare state. Eliminate that welfare state, then you would have fewer instances of these baby mamas just popping out kids like it's nothing. The dads not even really caring about the kids. And sometimes the moms don't care either. They out trying to get their hair done, trying to be partying, living hot girl summer, all this, that, and the third, trying to twerk on TikTok. Meanwhile, they got a whole baby in the background. The baby's crying. You're not even changing baby's diaper. But I'm really getting triggered. The whole point is that these parents don't raise these kids properly at all. So what's the point in school? School won't do anything. These kids ain't going. And stats say that if you get to third grade and you're behind in your reading, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. There's a chance you may be able to turn it around, but for the most part, the stats show that by the third grade, if you've not turned it around, you're not going to turn it around. And a lot of these kids are doomed way before that, and they never really reach to the point where they can improve. So as I close, I want to say this. Let's stop trying to finger point to things that aren't really the problem, to outside influences. Talk about the kids and their parents. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. Money won't fix it because there's plenty of money to go around. Money won't fix it. Trying to blame the virus won't fix it. Get to the core of the problem and figure it out from there. I don't want to hear this black excuse because I come from all black environments too. And it was cool. Like I said, it was cool to be smart. It was cool to get good grades. Now, some ignorant kids didn't really care, but those kids came from that kind of environment where they weren't taught anything. They didn't have anybody to be there with them and do flashcards and Reading Rainbow and Sesame Street. It didn't have the Christian preschool. All of this was in the hood. These are all available resources, but you have to want to take advantage of them. If you don't, then it just won't happen for you. And whatever you get is whatever you get. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about all the excuses? Are you buying them? Are you not buying them? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. What can be done to fix all of this that I've not said? What would you add to it? What would you take away? Is what I said sensible? Does it make sense? Or am I just speaking nonsense? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys pretty much know where I stand. I'm not trying to hear excuses. I just want to see results. That's it. And what we're seeing right now in Baltimore is not working. So you got to change it and produce results. Simple as that. If what I'm saying is wrong, okay, then what's right, Baltimore? What you're doing most certainly is not. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.